Okay, level check as I put on my mic. So level check for the Facebook people. It's 7:14. Be with you in about a minute. And again, we are talking about First Alert Weather Day. Cold air coming our way. And we're talking about a warming trend that we'll look at also. Again, remember that comes from the Climate Prediction Center. So let's see. Let me see if I got all my I's dotted, my T's crossed. There's camera. There's another camera view. Let's add that in there. Okay, so it looks like we got everything set up and ready to go. Still says 7:14 on my clock, so I'm not late yet, everybody. If you're listening to this, again, as a level check, checking to make sure all the levels and all the things are going right. There, the extended. Okay. I'm going to hit the button. We'll get the weather computer rolling. It is now 7:15, and it is time to go live with the First Alert streaming live weather show, the only TV station in Cincinnati that cares enough about the weather to do this. Again, we are looking at this show on every Monday through Friday at 7:15. Now, I'll be on again tomorrow, but then I'm off for about a week. I've got some vacation coming up, so it'll be more than likely Ashley Smith and Ethan Emery subbing for me from time to time. So, 24 degrees right now at the International Airport. That was the temperature for 7 p.m. It's actually observed a couple minutes before 7. So 24 degrees. The winds are beginning to die down, so the wind chills aren't as bad as they were a little while ago. But we have several things going on here. One, we've got a little bit of a clipper system. Remember, we talked about that for weeks. A clipper system, as we go into this cold trend, our flows out of the northwest, and all these little clipper systems come our way. We'll look at that in a minute. We will look at some wind chills that will be below zero for Thursday morning in spots. And we are talking about temperatures back into the 50s before we get to the end of the 7-day forecast. So let's go ahead, see what we've got coming our way. Here's another camera shot. Okay, that camera shot you see right there behind me is looking from Mount Auburn to the northeast over Norwood, and you can see, well, it's hard to see, but the sky right now is clear, but clouds are going to roll back in. And I guess if you look right up near the word that's live, says live, if you look right up here, I think you can see a couple stars up there. It's hard to tell on these cameras. All right, so overall we are talking about First Alert Weather Day for Thursday. Okay, we've got some snow in the forecast Wednesday, late evening into early Thursday morning. It's gone long before we get to the morning commute. Even though we don't see much in the way of accumulation coming our way, we could see a few slick spots around the tri-state, but just a few. The real reason the First Alert Weather Day has been issued is because this will be the first time we've seen wind chills go below zero since late February or early March around the tri-state of last year. And for that morning commute on Thursday, wind chills from 5 below to 10 below zero, and getting a little bit better during the day, but not that much. It's going to be a bitterly cold day throughout the day on Thursday. Not record-setting, but certainly not very enjoyable by that measure either. Okay, so first of all, the North American model gives us just, a couple tenths of an inch of snow. It says there might be a spot or two that reaches a half an inch, but I really doubt that you're going to see, that anywhere. Okay, the European model says about the same thing. It's got a little bit less, but overall, the third model we're looking at here is the GFS. Oops, went the wrong way. Okay, I was doing this by hands. So here we go. The GFS says about the same thing. So the models are in pretty good agreement. Now, the GFS now says the highest amounts will be around Hillsborough at 7/10 of an inch. But I think all the models are kind of overdoing this. So we're looking at less than an inch of snowfall. It all comes to an end several hours before the morning commute. But then the cold and the winds kick in and the wind chills get just brutal. And here's what it looks like. The wind chill for Thursday morning at 7 a.m., Batesville, Connorsville, that would probably mean Brookville, College Corner, Oxford, below zero. And then everybody else not far behind. Now, wind chills vary quite a bit. So it wouldn't be uncommon for Cincinnati to have a wind chill of 4, Lunken to have a wind chill of 2, and Batavia to be colder than that. Now, this model is giving you a pretty smooth transition there, but overall, it's going to be cold. Even if your wind chill isn't below zero, it's going to be very close to zero. As we go through the day, you see by 4 p.m. wind chills still all below 20 around the tri-state. So Thursday, a first alert weather day for the cold. Not that the cold is that dangerous if you're dressed for it. What it is actually is that the cold is colder than we've had for quite some time, since early March or late February. So we're not acclimated to it, and that's why it's a first alert weather day. Okay, here we go. At 8 p.m., temperatures expected to be in the mid-20s. They stay there for 11 p.m., so the temperatures really aren't falling off very much through the rest of the evening. And watch what happens as we head into the overnight. The temperatures come up 3 or 4 degrees in many locations. That's because the cloud cover thickens up, and when you get that blanket of cloud cover, more heat is held in, and the temperature comes up a few degrees. And then during the day tomorrow, into the 40s. Okay, airport temperatures right now. Washington Courthouse, 19 degrees. Everybody else on that map is in the low 20s. Now, it had dropped into the teens in Richmond and Chillicothe. They've come back up, and we'll probably see temperatures just stay steady there through the rest of the evening, with wind chills in the upper teens and lower 20s around the tri-state. Maysville at 17, Shelbyville at 11, 12 in Richmond, 16 in Middletown, 15 in Wilmington. So those are some of the cold spots around the tri-state. Now, the sun set at 5:16, so it set 2 hours and 4 minutes ago. Expect the temperature to be around 23 by 11 p.m. Tomorrow morning, notice the lowest temperature after midnight is 24, and then it rises to 28. Now, it says low there, but all of our graphics are set up for an early morning low and afternoon high, because that's kind of what happens most of the time. Well, in this case, the low is actually at 11 p.m., so we manually enter this by hand because most people are in bed or at home at 11 p.m., but by the time you head out the door, 27, 28 degrees, that's the 8 a.m. temperature, so it will be a little bit warmer than it is right now, and the wind chill is going to still be in the teens for the most part. So that explains why it says low 28, and there are numbers cooler than that on there. It's actually the 8 a.m. temperature. Okay, so there you see the Climate Prediction Center says from the 9th through the 13th, warmer than normal. So we're going to snap back into a warmer than normal pattern. Not really hot, not balmy. We'll look at the graph that shows the next 14 days in a few minutes, but definitely a little bit warmer than normal. 11th through the 17th, warmer than normal. And then the 18th through the 31st, warmer than normal. So it looks like once we get past this cold snap that's coming our way, we're going to end up averaging out warmer than normal right on through the remainder of the year. Precipitation through the 13th, a little bit above normal. A little bit below normal, or near normal, I should say, 11th through the 17th, and through the 31st, about normal precipitation. Now, what this is kind of hinting at is that we have no major storms coming our way. Now, when you look at long-term forecasting models, they can't pick up the individual little storms all the time. We can see changes in the jet stream in that, but overall, it's just way too much computing power. It's like trillions and trillions and trillions of computations. So even though right now the indications are that we're going to stay warmer than normal, it does not look like any big winter storms coming our way as we head to the end of the month. And there you see that there. Okay, so your 7-day forecast is looking like this. We're talking about a low of 28 overnight. Now remember, that's not the low. The low is actually going to be about 23 or 4 just after midnight, but 28 by the time you get up. 43 with a chance of a little bit of shower activity during the evening hours. First alert weather day on Thursday, blustery and cold, wind chills in the morning, 5 below to 10 above, in the afternoon in the teens. Friday, 18 and 34, and mostly sunny. A few flurries on Saturday, 22 and 40, 47 on Sunday for the high, and then into the 50s. Okay, that's above normal by a few degrees. Above normal for Monday and Tuesday with highs of 53 and 50. So we've got some better weather coming our way if you like warmer weather. If you like cold weather, well, you'll wait. There'll be more. And then after those 2 days in the 50s, we drop down to highs in the 30s again, but recover back to about normal for the end of this 7-day stretch that ends on the 17th of the month. And again, we have 4 days with a slight chance of showers. The 11th, 12th, and 13th look at this point to be dry. So again, if you look at the 7-day and beyond the 7-day, there's just no indication of any big, strong winter storm or massive cold air outbreak coming our way other than the one we're about to get. Okay, so your 7-day plus looks like this. High temperatures, low temperatures, put on the normals. There's the normal high, there's the normal low. And what you see is that we go above normal on the high side, we drop back below normal, we go back above normal. So we're kind of flirting with normal, as I call it. And then same thing on the lows, below to above, back to a little bit below, back to a little bit above. And so the takeaway from this 14-day stretch is a small warming trend will put us just warmer than normal by the end of this forecast. We do have that bump that's warmer than normal for a few days in the 50s. One light snow day, that comes Thursday morning, early morning, and then some chilly rain possibly coming on. When I say chilly rain, you know, it's not like rain in the summer when you have 80 degrees and it rains and it feels good. It's like when you have 40s, you know, with rain and it just feels nasty because it's chilly and wet. So that's the takeaway from this particular forecast. All right, so let me go to Facebook, see if anybody's saying anything. Susan Wally, hello, Susan. Hope today's been great. But I tell you, you're such a positive person, Susan. I always like hearing from you. Yeah, today's been great. We had a good weather meeting with a consultant from our corporate offices and looked at some stuff that we need to fix, some of the things that we're doing well. You know, it's always good to get, you know, to take a step back and look at how you're doing so you can do a course correction before you get too far off. And that was a good meeting. So that worked out very nicely. But and so it's been a good day. And Susan said, this is an awesome program. Thank you. And she goes, she loves weather. And yeah, I love weather too. I tell you what, I could spend the rest of my life doing nothing but talking about weather. Jane Lawson says, hello. Hi, good evening to you, Jane. And Vicki Chapman Sanford, love my tie. You know, I've got another one like this. It's red with white, but I can't find it. I must have put it somewhere in a drawer. I've already told you that, you know, my space on the computer system, the weather computer system, looks like a sock drawer with a lot of other stuff in there. A lot of my other stuff looks like a sock drawer too. You know, and I know where it is. I just have to find it then. So, but I have another one, a snowflake tie that's red with white snowflakes, and I'll see if I can find it. So that was from Vicki Chapman. Okay, now what I usually do now, if you're new to this, this is the end of the comments on Facebook, and right now that's the only place we're taking comments on Facebook, although we hope to be able to begin to get comments off of YouTube pretty soon. So what I do after I look at the comments, I then go and back and go over the forecast. I check for comments again, and then we call it a night if there are no more comments. So let's start back by, let's go back to go back far enough. Oh, you know what? Why don't I just start all over? I'll just go over the whole thing again because we really need to that make a lot more sense that way. So let's see here. I'm going to check something very quickly. See if the La Nina update is out yet. Okay, so I'm on screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Climate Prediction Center and check for the La Nina update. Because Ethan Emery and I have been talking about this a lot. And each week, since months ago when we were, gosh, in the spring, Climate Prediction Center said, oh, models are kicking out a big, big, strong El Nino, or La Nina, excuse me. And again, for those of you that aren't really sure what a La Nina is, it has to do with the water temperatures along the equator from South America over to Indonesia, okay? So if the water temperatures along the equator are colder than normal, okay, that's a La Nina. If they're warmer than normal, it's an El Nino, okay? And I was at the University of Nebraska as a grad student when this first really began to become a hot topic, and we've learned a lot about it so far. But basically, the La Nina pattern is the opposite of the El Nino pattern, and they do different things to the global atmosphere. One of the things you might find interesting is if you go, you know what, why don't give me a second, I'm going to call up a map here so we can just talk about it and give you a visual. It makes it a little bit easier for me to describe too. So what I will do, man, what in the world am I talking about? Okay, here we go. I'm just going to take one of our radar maps and zoom way out. Okay, so go way out. All right, and see, the Pacific Ocean is so big you can't even keep the west coast of South America on the map and see Indonesia. Okay, so we're talking about the equator, and just if you know where this is, the country of Ecuador here in the west coast of South America, high in the Andes. Airport there is 9,000 feet above sea level, and right through here is the equator. Right through the northern part of Ecuador is the equator. There are the Galapagos. It goes right through the Galapagos Islands, all the way across the Pacific. And what I can do here. Let's see. Okay. Well, I can edit it. Let me edit this quickly. I think I can put this in a flat map so we can see the whole Pacific. Because the globe, even though that's what the Earth really looks like, when you're talking about trying to look at both sides of the Pacific at the same time, it's so wide you really can't put it on a screen. Okay. So let's see here. Yep. Will not work on this kind of a file, so I will just do a different one. We'll call up a different file, and this is one which just has temperatures on it. And I can zoom way out on this. All right. Excuse me. Zoom way, way out. Okay. And again, there is Ecuador right back here. This is kind of dark because it's it's using actual sunlight. But if we take a look at this, go to the Earth environment, see if what happens if I take a. Okay, now go back to the camera and zoom out, or out. Come on, out. It's not going to work because it divides the map up. Okay, so I'm just going to have to rely on my ability to describe it rather than to show it, because I don't have a flat map of the world in here. So what we're talking about is if you go from the west coast of South America along the equator all the way over to Indonesia, and you go 10 degrees latitude north and south of that, and that area in between 10 north and 10 south from South America to Indonesia is about 5 times bigger than the lower 48 states in area, okay? And so if you have that much water area that has warmer than or colder than normal weather, it really impacts the global circulation, because what happens right at the equator, you have the southern hemisphere and the northern hemisphere, and basically at the equator you've got rising air. Now that's not constant, I mean it varies. So you've got rising air, flows south and north like this high in the lower atmosphere, the troposphere, the upper part of the troposphere, and then sinks further north. And so if you have a lot of warm water or a lot of cold water, it changes how much of that air flows up and poleward. And that impacts the entire circulation of the atmosphere. And what happens in our neck of the woods, El Nino winters typically are like last winter, warmer than normal. La Nina winters are either near or a little bit chillier than normal, but nothing extreme, and wetter than normal, whereas El Nino is typically drier. So overall, we have essentially, okay, what am I doing here? We have essentially a La Nina winter supposed to develop. Now, they've been talking about that, as I said earlier on when I kind of got off topic here. And for months, it was going to be a strong, long La Nina. Then it was going to be, well, it's delayed a little bit. And then the models came back saying, ooh, well, maybe it's not going to be that strong. It's still going to be delayed. Then it said it's going to be short and weak. And when Ethan Emery and I have been discussing this, it's all headed, the model trend is all headed towards no La Nina or a very weak short one. So, and let's see. Oh, the 2nd of December, the La Nina outlook is here. I've got it right here on my phone. So let me, and if you look for it, if you want to read it yourself, there's some technical jargon there, but you can read around that. Just search on La Nina update NOAA, and you should be able to find it with a Google search. They still have a La Nina watch. It says, okay, now remember, the earlier forecast of La Nina had us into a full-blown La Nina by this time, okay? And right now, they just updated this saying the La Nina watch is in effect. However, we are in neutral conditions. So neutral means the water along the equator is neither warmer than or colder than normal by very much, okay? Okay. So now they've dropped it from a 70% chance to a 57% chance. So we're almost even. We're almost ready to flip a coin, whether or not. So 57% chance that it's going to emerge. Now remember, they said October to December was when it was going to emerge. We're in December and it hasn't emerged. So I'm guessing that La Nina either is going to be late and not much of a deal, or it's going to be a surprise to a lot of us. So right now it is the La Nina is not developing. Now, if you look remember the forecast that I put out for the winter a few months ago. Let me go back. I think I still have the graphics here. And that's one of the things about seasonal forecasting. Man, it's just like really, really tough to do. Okay, so okay, so here is what I said. There's January. Okay, here's February. There's the summary. Geez, where'd it go? I just had it. I'm looking for what I said about, here it is, what I said about December, and we'll see if I was right or wrong. I'll put it to you full screen first. Okay, so I was talking about temperatures cooling to normal by mid-December. Okay, well, it actually cooled to way below normal by early December. So I was on the right track, but I didn't have everything exactly right. I had the cooling a little bit too late and not as much cooling as we've received here in the past couple of episodes. Little or no snow, that still holds. We've had a couple episodes of snow, but we haven't had much snow at all. We still have had below normal rainfall, so that works. And no Arctic outbreaks, maybe one by late month. Well, it's early month, and an Arctic outbreak is coming on Thursday. So when you take a look at my winter forecast, when I was talking about December, I was and this is the horrible thing about trying to do seasonal forecasting. So I'm sure the people at the Climate Prediction Center know that are dealing with the La Nina pattern. They keep saying, oh, it's going to come, it's going to come. Well, it's going to be little or not as strong. And the trend is for there not to be a La Nina at all. But we may be surprised. So the temperatures have cooled. Okay, we thought through the middle of November it would be warmer than normal. And then by mid-December they cooled to normal. Well, they cooled to below normal by the beginning of December. So we were off. We had what was going to happen correct. We didn't have the timing right. Little or no snow, that holds up so far. We have had a couple episodes of snow, but really not much at all. The rainfall is below normal so far. And then no Arctic outbreaks. Whoops, that didn't work out either, because Thursday we're going to have that Arctic outbreak. And it's a brief one. It's not going to last for long. And then I was thinking maybe late month. Now this was based on having La Nina beginning to develop. And so having this cold air like this is no surprise to me. One of the things I was telling Ethan is that if usually what happens, the La Ninas don't, and El Ninos really don't get going, and they ramp up about this time of the year, and they really begin to affect the global circulation in January, February, March, and April. And I thought, well, if it's not developing, we could probably end up pretty cold and nasty for a while here, and that's exactly what's happened. But the forecast I put out, to be completely honest, was thinking that, okay, the La Nina is going to develop, but I'm guessing now that it'll probably develop a little bit, but it's not going to be as significant as they thought. So that's just to update you if you were watching that. So then here is, now I'll try to, off the top of my head, for January, I said temps slightly cooler than normal. A cold outbreak or two is possible, okay? More active precipitation pattern and some snow, Arctic outbreaks possible, okay? And that really was thinking in terms of a weak La Nina with not much going on, and so we'll have to see what happens. We are heading for a warming trend, okay, which will take us to near normal by the end of the year, end of the month. And so overall, we may very well be ending up a little bit cooler than normal in January. But seasonal forecasting is still in its infancy, and it should be no surprise to me that it isn't exactly right. We're on the right track. We just really haven't pinned anything down as we would hope we could. Okay, let's get back to the other forecast now. So, see, when I start talking about weather, I can get sidetracked very easily. So, the first alert weather days, and again, we were getting some feedback from people. Oh, you're talking about first alert weather too much. Well, we're not. First alert weather days are just a blanket statement of hey, you need to know about this. Sometimes they're just, like, oh, it's going to be wet. Your morning commute's going to be slow with puddles in the roads and all that. It's going to be a hassle. Okay. At the other end of the spectrum, it can be a life-threatening situation like tornadoes or, life-threatening lightning, things like that. And so, so when we say a first alert weather day, it's first of all, on one end, it's a heads up, hey, this is going to be a pain. On the other end, it's take cover. You may be sorry if you don't. So, so there's a lot of misunderstanding about what a first alert weather day is, but it's not necessarily a statement of oh my gosh, you're in trouble, and it's not meant to panic anybody or to make everybody get all upset. It's just meant to be an informational statement. And I always know when I've been talking too much when I have to start drinking Diet Mountain Dew. Okay, so that's the first alert weather days. Now we're going to take a look again at snowfall accumulations. Almost all the models are about the same. Okay, one model might have 7/10 of an inch in Hillsboro, the other might have 3/10, but they're all just giving us a few tenths of an inch. Basically a dusting that'll blow around a lot because by the time the snow stops falling, temperatures will be a lot colder, it'll dry out, the winds are going to be gustying, and so it's going to be breezy. And there you see the other model, the Euro, says about the same thing, and the GFS has a little bit more in the Hillsboro area. But here's the real deal. The real deal is the wind chills. 3 below in Connersville, Liberty, 2 below Batesville, 1 in Hamilton, probably a little bit below 0 in Oxford, College Corner, and then a little warmer. If you count 10 degrees above 0 is warmer. West Union is going to be a little bit warmer than that. And through the day, wind chills stay in the teens. Okay, so as we head toward 11 o'clock, not much change in temperature. As we head toward the morning, with the cloud cover increasing, temperatures rise a little bit, and they rise into the upper 20s and lower 30s. Now you can see we make it into the 40s right there during the day. And then by 7 p.m., still upper 30s to lower 40s in the tri-state. And during the evening hours, notice the temperatures. This particular model, and the others do too, has whatever's falling coming down when temperatures are above freezing. Now, why am I worried about that? Okay, because that means most of the stuff will melt on the roads. Roads will become wet. And then what happens to the temperatures after 11 p.m.? By the time we get to 1:30 a.m., it's already down to 20 in Connersville. By the time we get to 7 a.m., it's down into the low teens. With the winds blowing as hard as they will, they'll have 20-mile-an-hour sustained winds with 35-mile-an-hour wind gusts. Roads should dry out very quickly. Wind really dries out fast. However, in some spots that are sheltered from the wind, that might not get that drying, and you might get a little bit of a black ice patch or two. And so that's one of the things we're worried about, but we're not worried about snow accumulation. And in general, we're not really worried about icy roads because the winds will tend to dry things out so quickly. It's just spots on the roads that are sheltered from the wind that may end up having an icy patch. Okay, so temperatures as of 7 p.m. Were mainly in the low 20s. You see 19 up there at Washington Courthouse. Wind chills in the teens to low and mid 20s, so it's cold. Oh, look at this. Richmond, the wind chill down to 9. 16 in Middletown, 21 in Batesville. Chillicothe's at 17 along with Maysville and Lebanon. So definitely a cold evening out there. We're looking at temperatures dropping from the current of 24 to 23 by 11 p.m., so not much of a temperature drop. Overnight, dropping off to about 23 just after midnight, and then rising back to about 28 by 8 a.m. So a little warmer as you head out the door, but still the wind chill cold. And then As we zoom out here, what you're going to see is you're going to see the system that is coming our way. It's right up here. So you see the snow in Lake Superior, Lake Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota. And if you look at the cloud pattern right there, that arc of cloud cover, that's the cold front. And that's heading our way. Most of the snow is going to stay in the Great Lakes, bring them another lake effect snowfall event. For us, it's just a few snow showers that may wet the grounds in that. Okay, but after we have this brief Arctic air outbreak, we're back into above normal temperatures through the 17th through the 31st. So it looks like we finished the year above normal without any more Arctic air outbreaks. A little bit above normal precipitation-wise through the 13th, and then we actually go to about normal and stay about normal for the end of the year. So the 7-day forecast looks like this. Tomorrow morning's 8 a.m. temperature, 28, 43 the high, 17 and 24 for Thursday. Thursday, the first alert weather days with those wind chills down to below 0 in the morning in many locations. 18 and 34 for Friday and mostly sunny. A few flurries maybe on Saturday, nothing big, a high of 40. We're looking at 30 and 47 Sunday, 53 and 50 for Monday and Tuesday with lows around 40 both mornings. And that tells you that shower activity will be showers. It won't be a mix or anything. Beyond the 7-day forecast, looks like this. I've got 39 for the high then on Wednesday the 11th. Oh boy, Wednesday the 11th, December 11th, that's my son's 47th birthday. And even though I'm in my 70s, I really haven't felt too old. But every once in a while, you run into a life event that kind of reminds you of how old you are. This is one. My son, my little kid, is going to be 47 years old on the 11th. He lives in D.C. and right now he's out on business in Palau. He runs an ocean environmental group's programs that help protect ocean resources while trying to also increase employment for local economies like the island nation of Palau. Okay, and when we get to beyond the 7-day forecast, high temperatures back into the 40s after those 2 days in the 30s. And it looks like we go into a bit of a showery pattern from the 14th to the 17th, but no big rain events coming our way. And so that looks like, again, it looks like no major cold air outbreaks coming our way. And here's the summary graphic of the next 14 days. Okay, your high temperatures look like this, the lows. Now put on the normal high line right there, the normal low line right there, and you can see that we go from pretty far below normal on the highs to above normal. We drop back down just a little bit below normal, then kind of ease back to a little bit above normal, and we're kind of flirting with normal by the time we get to the 17th. 17th, 1 week before Christmas Eve. All right? Oh my gosh, I better start my Christmas shopping. And then the low temperatures do the same thing. Way below normal, pretty much above normal there for the 9th and 10th. Back down to about normal or a little bit above normal as we head to the 17th of the month. And again, the takeaway on this is a small warming trend. So low warming trend takes us in the 50s, it cools, and then it warms back up. So it's actually 2 warming trends. One light snow day, which is Wednesday night and Thursday. And then we're looking at a little bit of light snow and some chilly for Wednesday night and Thursday, and then a little bit of chilly rain for that 4-day stretch that we looked at. So that's the takeaway from the 7-day forecast. Okay, the 14-day forecast. Let me check one more time with what is going on here on Facebook. And let's see. Okay. Jane Lawson, I said hi to you, Jane. Vicki Chapman Sanford loves the ties, and we talked about that before. Okay, here we go. Mark Dean, can't do that. And I can't say anything else. Karen Fetters. Well, thank you. From Eddie and Karen Fetters, hi to both of you, and thanks. I'm glad you like this program. And again, we do this Monday through Friday at 7:15. Ashley or Ethan or Catherine is the one that does it at noon for about 25 minutes each day, Monday through Friday. Ashley's got one at 10:15 a.m. Saturday and Sunday mornings. And then Ethan has one at 6 p.m. on both Saturday and Sunday. I got a little message here, kind of distracted me. Okay, so but thanks, Eddie and Karen. Okay. And Mark Rogers says, "Hey, Steve, age is just a number." Yeah, I understand. Oh well, what can I say? I've had a good life. I've enjoyed myself so far, and I'm still pretty healthy, so I don't pay much attention to it. But Mark, thank you for the encouragement. And then Pamela Menny says, "Hello, hi everybody." Okay, that's it. That's the last of the comments. Have yourself a nice evening. We'll be on again tomorrow evening when we should be talking about some approaching snow. Our morning show starts at 4:30 a.m., of course, on Fox 19 Now. We're on tonight at 10 and 11 on Fox 19 Now. And then Frank and Catherine Bodak will have everything for you starting tomorrow morning at 4:30. Have yourself a nice night, and that's it for now.